thank you for being here. Thank you for allowing me to be here. And yeah, let's wrap up this closure.
Sure. So we set up this, the closing to be in a meeting session and interactive, and we want to invite you to turn on your cameras. When you have an opportunity, you're more than welcome to unmute and share thoughts. We're going to do a kind of fun mix of things with the closing session because we want to hear from you. We started this journey 2 years ago with you and your feedback, and we want to end it with your feedback and where we go with the network moving forward. So we are going to So we're going to chat a little bit to begin with, talk about some highlights, and then we have a wonderful, dynamic spoken word poet, an all-around amazing human, Natasha Ria El-Scari, who's going to do some performances for us of some of the pieces that she's written, and we get a chance to chat with her a bit about her work, her art, and her involvement with food and justice. So Natasha, thank you for being with us for the closing as well. And then we are ending the whole thing with a video from Representative Sharice Davids, and she's going to send us off with some inspiring words as we leave this space today. But first, we want to stop and just chat. How's it going? How's this been for you? Marcus, how's this time been for you? You started this with us at the very beginning.
I don't even remember when the first conversation happened. It was so long ago. You know, it's to see all that work to come together and have it convert to virtual at nearly the last moment, and for it to still be this, what I thought was very energizing, is really amazing to me. I've seen so many other virtual spaces that have just fallen flat, and for some reason this is very much not that. But I think it's, you know, it's because of all the participants that are here and the energy that they're bringing. I will say that I think one highlight is just seeing all the different connections being made, both certainly socially, but professionally, intellectually, revolutionarily in terms of practice, just across the board. There's a real eagerness, I think, underlying this event, and you know, you can almost, it's almost like hearing roots grow. And so this does feel like a beginning or another big step, you know, in movement. So it doesn't really feel like closure. But yeah, what about you?
I like the roots growing and spreading.
Oh.
It is this I don't know. I'm kind of at a loss for words that we're actually here at a closing, because I don't think I ever thought this day would get here. And so in many ways, I'm very sad that it's here as well. But you all have stuck with us through 2.5 days of lots of conversation, being in a virtual space, and had really hard and challenging conversations. And I think we heard a lot of wonderful thoughts and comments and questions about people's relationship to power, about how we center our communities of color, putting them in leadership positions, how we kind of transform this system. And there were a lot of ideas generated, a lot of conversation. It's been a great space to be in, and I've been wholly impressed by everyone sticking with us in this virtual space for so long and being so engaged throughout the 2.5 days. So thank you to all of you, and cheers for being here. So we also want to hear from you. What are highlights that you're walking away with? What are highlights from our time together that you're reflecting on as we close out this time?
People can unmute, right? Or drop responses in the chat.
They can.
Excellent.
I'll go. How's everyone? This is Paulette Ferguson. I have just truly enjoyed these 3 days. I became a little emotional today when we were talking about, well, the last session that we were just in, and the presenters did a fantastic job on, you know, letting us know what their policy is doing and how, you know, their framework and all of that. And I guess the place where I became a little emotional is I really do believe that in order for resolution to happen in the present, you have to acknowledge the past. If you're going to have change, you have to acknowledge the past. There's just no way around it. Whether it makes someone feel uncomfortable, to me, it doesn't matter. When you're getting to truth, that's what you need to do. And so I really enjoyed that. I was going to speak at that time, but I was just in tears because that is a long time coming. And it's just good to hear that there's people, there's white people that actually get this. Change happens from acknowledgement. If you can't acknowledge, if you're denying that the past didn't happen, if there is no way that change is going to happen. And I think that those last 4 presenters, they have been very persistent in their councils. They identified whatever it was they wanted to do. They lost members, and these were, nonprofits and councilmen, and I mean, that's power, and you really need that. But it was like, it doesn't matter. You're not in alignment with our shared values. We decided on our values. This is what we're going to do. If you don't want to be in it, that's fine. We're going to move forward. And so it was just very emotional for me, and so admirable that they were able to get through that, because also with that comes a sense of invading your personal space as well, especially when it comes to race, that's very difficult for us. And with them, now we're getting to that. And so it was just, I just started work for it, and I'm just in tears right now because I was just amazed. And that was, it was 4 young ladies, and I wrote their names down. And Lashana, Kristen, Marissa, and Sydney. And they are just doing outstanding work with their policy councils. So thank you so much for letting them present to us today and tell us about what they're doing and about what their journey is, because I do believe that is so important.
Paula.
So I'm done. I'm about to cry, so I'm done. I'm done talking. No more talking for me.
Oh, thank you for sharing.
Thank you. And Paulette, you're right. We have a history to reckon with, and it's really wonderful to see so many people gathered here starting that journey or helping us along that journey, being with us, being allies, all of us showing up together in this space. So thank you for sharing. Is there anyone else that wants to share? I think we have time for one more thought. There's a lot being shared in the chat too. All right, yeah. We're going to let you chat your highlights, your thoughts in the chat, and we're going to move on to getting to hear Natasha Ria El-Scari, a spoken word poet from Kansas City. We're bringing it back around to Kansas City since we can't be there. And so we've invited her here to kind of help us close out our time. Natasha is a poet, performer, writer, educator, Black feminist, gallery owner, food activist, and a mother who was born and raised in Kansas City, Missouri. She is founder and curator of Black Space, Black Art, which promotes the exhibition of African-American visual arts and businesses, and of the Natasha Ria Art Gallery, a small powerhouse focused on marginalized artists and cross-genre cultural events. In addition to art, Natasha is passionate about justice, community, and food. She is co-founder of the Roland Grocer, a full-service mobile grocery store custom built to serve neighborhoods with limited access to healthy food in Kansas City. And Natasha is here to perform 2 of her pieces with us. Thank you, Natasha.
Thank you. Good afternoon or early evening, depending on where you all are. I just want to shout out KC Healthy Kids And I want to congratulate everyone for making it to the closing session. I hope that I can help ease that a little bit for you. So I wrote these vignettes and poems. It's all one poem, but it's 6 different vignettes. And the idea was to show the different perspective around food, food accessibility, and what food means to us. And so I just want you all to imagine the city or the town where you live. And I want you to, if you want to, you can close your eyes, but I just want you to imagine these different families together. Perspective. Have you ever baked for your beloved? Have you ever stirred, combined your secrets with your hope in a gravy that smothered the crust of your vulnerability? Have you eaten less or taken your last to make the perfect celebration, the kindergarten graduation, the 10th birthday bike, the 8th grade talent show win, the impossible possibility of more than you ever had? Have you ever? Sunset. Sassy, sizzling, sacred slaps of spades erupt over the sexy speakers. She won't share her skillet secrets of serious saucing, hiding spices and schlitz on the side of the stove that splatters sweet spaghetti to silence the gut while seducing Saturday nights to sunrise. Sunrise. Pots and pans are alarm clocks in the morning. Broccoli and bird harmonize through opaque bubbles of broth. Young folk don't know how to cook no more. When we were young, we cooked. We took pride in the skillet and grew our own food in the yard. No handout was ever enough to feed a real man in the fields. Grandma doesn't pull any punches. She is the pit master of the family, the keeper of stories of freedom. Grow your own food, baby. Don't wait on no one to save you. Don't even wait on me. Wait on okra, wait on tomatoes, wait on zucchini, wait on potatoes, wait on ripe, but don't wait too long. Wait on your kids to come home. Wait on your man to eat first. Wait on tender meat. Let the smoke do the magic. But baby, don't even wait on me. Proud and poor. P-O-U-R. Beans and rice pour into my favorite cereal bowl. Daddy says pot liquor holds all the secrets of the soul. It's football season, and that means he puts the beans on real low before I'm up for school, before the sun or city is awake. I slurp food like a first kiss after practice every day. Daddy says he knows how to make me strong. I string the turkey necks with my teeth and gobble the day-old bread before it soaks Daddy's soul. And you should eat more and more to get strong. Mama laughs and sips her water. Daddy asks if I've had enough. I leave the table and we review the plays while Mama eats what's left in my bowl. You are growing. Look at you. One day, I tell you, one day you will make us proud. You already have, baby. You already have. Happy tears swallow the whole of her. That night, I dream of Mama and Daddy eating steak and me blinded in the lights of the stadium. Breakfast before integration. Fingers clasped tightly, we are holding hands again. Today, mine are hot because I am afraid more than I was yesterday. Prayers are tangled into every meal about equality, about understanding, about oatmeal, about resilience, about how we find justice, about toast, about faith, about how do we stay alive, about grits, about how do we join forces, about fear not even when we are scared, about bread, about how do we make it work, about what will happen if we lose, about king, about freedom, about life. The Traveler. I make a day of it. Truce bus to 63rd Street. Go west to the white grocery store. The produce is better. The sales are more. The aisles are clear. I drag my oversized basket up 1 block against the wishes of the bus company. Me and that one driver got a good thing. I ride only when he drives, after the rush, just to keep the mess down. When they ask me on my application how many people live in my home, I tell them 3, but I should say more because I share with Mr. Charles. His children are out of town. Miss Shay, bless her heart, who has all those babies and she's in school. I know I can stretch mine further than she can stretch hers. So while I sign and say that all that I have is the gospel truth, it is really not. With my little, many are fed. And I think God would be okay with a lie to feed the people who need to eat, who need to grow, who need to live. Wicked, W-I-C capital, K-I-D. Mama said love can wait, but I was hungry for love and books, insatiable, in fact, never loving one more or less. So we did it the right way with the knowing we had. Books in common and uneven sense, but here I am, a full scholarship in hand, baby on my back, and my new husband right here doing the best he can. We promise we will help our families and tell our kids' kids about how it feels to swipe that blue card with pride, and that good nutrition is the cornerstone to a healthy existence. That and books and love. We vowed, like we did at the courthouse without mama, to always tell you the truth of how I studied and nursed and passed and fed us all while my friends partied without me. I will tell you, there is no shame in help. I will celebrate later. There is no shame in need. I will celebrate across the stage, tell you the truth about how mama was wrong and how mama was right. Thank you.
Natasha, that was gorgeous.
Thanks.
I agree with Lauren in the chat. You are definitely feeding us.
Oh,
Now I'm all tingly. So I'm really glad that you're here with us. You can share this space and share your powerful work that really, really goes so much hand in hand with what we're doing. Couple questions for you. So as you know, as you well know and live, art and activism go hand in hand. So when you wrote these pieces, what did you hope that people would take away from these words?
Well, it was really important for me to to show this idea other than what is often promoted about people who are on assistance or people who need assistance. There is a thing that poor means you're dumb, or poor means you're not educated, or poor means that you want to be poor, or that poor means you're not human. And so I wrote it with this idea of how no matter what, we are all intrinsically tied to food. Food is a part of culture and a part of love and nurturing. And also to really show the different stories of resilience and of community and of access, right? Like, what does it mean? The people who are deciding who gets what and how much of what they get without really considering all that goes into the human part of the story, right?
Yeah.
So I just want to bring the humanity to these people that are real. They are real people.
Oh, that's beautiful. And also just like the access to pleasure, and that poor means you're not deserving of pleasure and food is pleasurable. We should enjoy this.
Yes. That's why I love the Saturday night poem, right? Which is about like the sexiness of food, the sensuality of food, the joy of food, and bringing people together. And everyone likes to do that. It doesn't matter who they are. Everyone desires to have that moment, right? The number one thing is who's bringing what. That's what matters first.
Right.
Where are we meeting and what you bringing?
Oh, I love it. All right, second question I have for you. And I really, I could listen to you all day. How did your Black feminist approach to art inform this piece?
You know, I have a belief, and I'm sure I'm not the only one that has said this, but I believe that every single Black woman in the United States is a feminist, whether she identifies as one or not, because our very survival depends on our feminism, which is the belief that we deserve freedom and we deserve equality and that we deserve to live, and that those around us that we love also deserve that same thing. So, you know, for me, the inclusion of family, which is also this idea that two-parent households don't need assistance, right? And we really got to see that during the pandemic, where people would rather stay off work than go back to work because unemployment was paying more than their salaries. And just that idea of what it means to be a family person or the working poor, or what it means when we are elders in our community, you know, like it's just a given. And I think about that. Like my mother is still the place where we gather. My grandmother turned 100 this year. Her home is still the place that we gather. We go there to get the information, and there is always food about to be prepared, food just eaten. You know, there's always fruit, there's always vegetables, there's always these things. And that is actually what brings people there, right? People come, they go in the refrigerator, and then they start to talk.
Yeah, exactly. First we eat, then we do everything else. Beautiful. Well, if I can, I'm going to introduce your second piece, Cooking with Her Grandmother.
Yeah, so this one is called Kitchen Lessons, and I actually wrote this poem. I was a part of an NPR special, which, you know, if you are, for the kind of work that you all do, you probably can get this when I say this. On my bucket list was to be on NPR and PBS. Those are my two bucket list things, and both have happened. So, you know, that's just kind of a caveat. But this is about this is the actual poem about my maternal grandmother and grandfather. And they lived in Ashdown, Arkansas. Kitchen lessons. We are vegetarians, so she cooks the can of mixed vegetables as if she's making consomme. Big Mama scrambles in her front worn apron pockets for an answer as to why I won't eat meat. You've always been different. How can a man not eat meat? She remembers days there was no meat, when she drank the juice from the mixed greens, turnip, mustard, and collards Papa left. What the children did not devour with their many hands, she drank like soup, sopped with 3-day-old bread, while hunger sang to the moon in her belly. Here, her frame, small as I was at 10, is in the same kitchen. I've come to visit on my spring break, and I remind her of the days I picked fresh okra for breakfast from her garden on its perfect day. Papa showed me how to leave the ones that needed one more day to ripen. We laugh at how I choked on a cornmeal tripe when my grandfather fried and warned me not to eat alone. She tells me I am a woman now, that she can share her secrets because I will be a bride soon. She whispers of Papa's white relatives, her first marriage, and her babies. I am feisty and 21. I still say things I shouldn't as I practice how good and grown it feels to finally be allowed to stay and talk in the kitchen. I love it here. This square place birthed turtle cakes from scratch for her preacher that had to be hid so no one else would eat it, not even Papa. Tight lids covered with masking tape wore the name Beauty Hooks in crooked cursive, sealed the loving warmth. As a girl, I never could read what it said, but it always meant this was made in love and sweat. This place housed only gas stoves, a washer and dryer next to a deep freezer that arrived only after my mother moved out in 1971. This is where watermelon juice was wiped off my thighs so I could return to play without fighting gnats. This is where summer sausage sizzled as the only alarm clock, where I would read when the rain came because there was no TV with the threat of bad weather. Here we are, and we talk. And she sometimes pushes my sass away with the roll of her pen, her knuckles full of flour and praise. You need to know how to use this for more than cooking. Her homemade rolls rise like red dust on the summer road when Pawpaw crunches the rocks with the creep of his tires in his mint green Ford 150. I mush my face into the edible pillows like I did when I was a girl, and she finally looks satisfied. Big Mama, will my rolls ever be this good? Spills out of my stuffed mouth with no grace. She chuckles. Like most things, not the first time, maybe not the 10th, but you keep cooking. Keep trying to feed you and your husband best you can without no meat. Today, I do not make homemade rolls. I do not eat most meats, but when I enter the kitchen with prayer in my pots, I hear Big Mama's feet slide in my slide. I slice and throw and mix and try my best, even with no meat and no husband. Thank you.
Thank you again. So, screen might change. So we all have a relationship with food. Certainly we all have memories of smells and stories about food, culinary traditions with friends and family. Food is part of our survival. As food system activists, what would you say many of us get wrong about people's relationships with food and their food needs?
I feel like people get wrong when they think that they know what people need versus coming in and knowing how to grow what they know. Trying to enter to replace the knowledge and culture that people have is highly problematic. It is incredibly privileged, and I think it's important to work to enhance and introduce, but not to take over. That is really an insult, and I touch on that in the poem, right? Like my grandmother, I'm trying to get close to her, but she's like you're not eating meat, like what are you doing? That's white people shit. So I need to know what's happening. So it's like trying to rebuild this trust in what is happening, culturally. What is this new girl? She's gone off and she's got this schooling and now she ain't eating meat and she got dreadlocks and his husband and like, where's my baby? And it's happening in this sacred space of the kitchen. The kitchen is where the truth spills out. And so I think that what people get wrong is they think that how people eat is wrong. But what's wrong is not having access. It's about giving people the opportunity to express how they want to express with their food, not to tell them what to eat. And I really touch on that in The Traveler, right? There is a term in Kansas City called the white grocery stores and the black grocery stores. Like, that people use it. They use it like common language. Oh, we're going over to the white grocery store. Like, they're like, where are you going to the white grocery store? It is a real thing. The white grocery store means it has all the ingredients and things that I need that we don't have at our grocery stores in our neighborhood. So I think that it's really about coming in and creating community. It's not coming in for the takeover. That is very problematic, and people are going to meet a lot of resistance. And no one wants to tell you how to cook their food. It's insulting. It's kind of like when you're a new mom, and people try to give you advice, and you're like, you know what? I would rather struggle than have your advice. You come and picking up the baby and taking over, and that's crazy. So that's really what that is like. We have to understand how intrinsic food is to culture. And that enjoying eating is a good thing.
All right, yeah. All right, so this your point about access, and leads into my second question. But when you co-founded Rolling Grocery, you started with the community, identifying the needs and the desires of the community that you're going to serve. What did that look like in practice? Start with the community, and yeah, did that change the initial concept of the grocery store?
Okay, so it was the brainchild of my dear friend Jessica Royer. It was her brainchild, and then she called me up and just was like, "Hey, I got this crazy idea," and I was like, "Crazy idea? Shh, let's do it! I'm all for crazy ideas. That's the story of my life." So we just decided that we were going to build from the ground up, and we were very clear that we didn't want to partner with anyone who would try to come in and do these things. And I told her, Jessica Royer is a white woman. She's about 10 years older than me. And I told her, hey, I'm not doing anything that's going to go in and tell Black folks how they should eat, or tell poor people how they should eat, or make assumptions about any of those things, right? I was like very clear about that. So then we were like, we need a white man and a Black man who are equally passionate about equity in food, because we knew going in that the grocery industry, one, is very family based, but also when you get into like trucks and things like that, it's very gender based. So sometimes me and the Black guy would go to certain places together. Sometimes me and Jess would go together because we were two women and we could look like not intimidating. And then we would send the men over to talk about, we were very strategic. We knew and understood that power, right? And the privilege of what each of our intersectionalities were. And so when we went in to talk with the community members, it was so funny because Jess was very excited, but that nobody trusted her. And she was like, when I go, they don't trust me. And so I would go and would talk together. And then they were like, okay. So they would give me the "Are you down?" test. And Marcus, do you know what that is? Like when Black people pull you aside and just be like, who's Al Green? Who said
yeah. Oh yeah.
Who Franklin is? What are you putting? They want to make sure you're on their team. Yeah. That's real, right? They want to make sure that you're not thrown out. And so our partnerships were very grassroots. We did a little bit of demographic study, but we started with senior homes. We started with multi-building because a lot of those residents did not have transportation. So we were like, let's go to the place where there's no transportation. Again, that's an assumption because many of the residents in the senior homes, they didn't want to shop at the grocery stores because the grocery store was the time that they got with their kids. So once a week, their kids would come and go to the grocery store. So they told us, like, we're not going to buy off the truck because then we won't be able to see our kids. They thought that it meant their kids wouldn't come if they already had a grocery store coming. Do you get what I'm saying? We couldn't have up, but we had to build enough trust with the community in order for them to share those very big secrets culturally. My mother lives in a home. She's not in a senior living facility. So that's not any information I would know. But it makes total sense, right? So when we got that wisdom from people, we listened and we incorporated it. We didn't try to say, no, that's not right. That's not right. So I always tell this story about how much I hate Vienna sausages. Like I hate them, okay? Me. But they've been on the shelf all my life. So somebody's eating them. Ongoing joke. We are not having Vienna sausages. No way, no way. We have all avocados, right? And the very first, when we went to do surveys to say, tell me your wish list, guess what the thing was on the top of the list?
Oh my God.
So we carried them because the grocery store experience was not about me or the rest of the team. We were supposed to be providing what people wanted. And then we introduced, so like we would cut open an avocado, or if we had blueberries or things that people normally didn't have, we would allow them to sample them, because it is difficult to try something, that, I mean, first of all, I am a grocery store grape eater, okay? I grew up, I didn't know it was illegal because we went to the right white grocery stores. So I saw everybody eating grapes out of the grocery store. I didn't know that was a thing that you were not supposed to do. So, And like kale used to be what people would have around. So here we are teaching people like you can eat kale. And people are saying that's the stuff they used to put in the produce section because it lasts forever. So we ask people to post their food, their recipes. We really tried to kind of create this culture. And we came at times that were convenient for them. So it was a partnership in that way. But when people tried to partner with us and do some, oh, well, we'll partner only if you don't have anything with sugar. And I would always say, if you go to Whole Foods, there's candy bars, there's popcorn, and there's cookies, just like it is at any other grocery store. You are not going to take away pleasure from people because they're poor. Absolutely not. So, yeah.
Oh, that's huge. It's amazing what you can learn if you just talk to people. Build trust.
Yes. And
Right.
not go in thinking you know everything. You know, it's like,
Right.
yes, we want to provide this, but tell us how to make it work. And I would say that advice works for young people. If you ask young people what they think high school should look like, we could really revolutionize what education looks like. But we have all these adults with their credentials thinking that they know, and they may know pedagogically, but they don't know personally. They don't know what it's like to be a teenager in 2020 and 21, you know? So it's important and food really opens people up. When we say we break bread, you know, when you break bread with somebody, that is sacred. That is so sacred. And so that matters so much. So I want to just do a caveat to that. So my guilty pleasure is crab legs. And you know, there was a time people look at food like it's like it gets classed off because that's capitalism. Yep. So this, you know, it's all from the same animal, but this is worth more because of this, but it's all the same animal. Anyway, that's neither here nor there. So I love crab legs. And crab legs are my guilty pleasure. Well, now that my kids I'm an empty nester, I can actually afford crab legs more often. And then I can have them all for myself. So I don't have to share them. But then I got this boyfriend. And so now, like, that's our thing. Like, we have crab legs. And the other night, he got a clean crab leg of the largest thigh. You know what I mean? It was a clean cut. And he had always struggled with that, but I'm a pro at it. And when he got it open, he handed it to me and he fed it to me. And I just started to cry because I'm like, that reminds me of when my grandparents, I only grew up eating the heart of the watermelon. I didn't even know that as children, we got the sweetest part. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Like, and that is like the act of love. So when he did that, I was like, I love you. But that is how sensual and beautiful food is, right? That he has been trying to get this crack right. And then it's a love language, you know, and we eat dinner together every day because that's how we catch up on things that are just random, you know? Yeah. So food is so important. Yeah.
All right, Natasha, I'm getting signals. Everyone could listen to this forever, but I'm getting signals that we are over time, and I hate that we are because I'm getting comfortable. Thank you so much.
That I went. See, you get they said food activist. That is like, I mean that, like the pleasure of it, of around it. So yeah, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to go so far and go into my crab leg and watermelon stories, but yeah.
Don't be sorry at all. No, thank you so much. Karen, where do you want to go after this?
Natasha, thank you so much. I don't know if you're watching the chat, but it is blowing up with love for you and everything you're saying. So
will I have time to read it before you all click off?
Oh yeah. Take your time. Chime in. They're loving you. So thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
All right, Marcus, you ready for moving on to the future?
Yeah, I guess we should. All right, let's do it.
All right. So you're gonna do it?
No, go for it. I was just checking the go for it.
Okay. So we're gonna take a few minutes with you and we want to reflect a little bit. Anne in her welcome on Tuesday kind of brought up the notion that we're looking to you to tell us how to move this network forward. Myself and Rachel, Dariel, we kind of hold we push buttons, we make things go, but this network is made up of you running councils in your communities and your states and your regions and tribal areas. And so we want to hear from you about how we move forward collectively. The theme of this conference was the power of food, cultivating equitable policy through collective action. And we want to carry that forward after this event. So we want to know how together we can build and move toward equitable policy through collective action. We're very cognizant and aware that this network for a long time has been, it's been led by well-intentioned white women professionals. Now there's a change, there's a shift coming. There's a desire to bring in community, to bring in those that are impacted by the food system, to reckon with the history of food and race and systemic injustice. And so we want to know how best to support you in doing that and how we see moving forward together in that work. So we've created another Padlet, which if you were with us on this morning, you got to play with Padlet this morning. And so we're asking you to answer 2 questions. One, what could we do more powerfully together as a national network to cultivate equitable policy? And 2, what could a national network of food policy councils do to support you? So we're going to throw out Padlet. We're going to play a little music, and then we're going to give you a couple minutes, and we'll come back and start to share.
All right, just going to read some of these out as they pop up. Some really good ideas here. Let's see. What could we do more powerfully together as a national network to cultivate equitable policy? Jointly fundraise. Certainly keep sharing best practices. Modernize your listserv. Yep. There is a listserv for those that are asking about it. These are collective local voices for federal policy change. All right, host forums more frequently. There you go, Karen. Seeking alignment, collective federal advocacy around shared goals, certainly. Celebrate victories. Definitely don't do that enough. Keep sharing knowledge, skills, resources. I like this one. Hold each other accountable, building equity in our councils. Continue the conversation of shifting food back to the loving cultural experience we all deserve. That definitely harkens back to Natasha. Create a national coalition and meet bi-monthly or quarterly. I like that. That's some real planning starting to happen right there. Provide trainings, racial equity. Okay. Let's see. We'll shift over to what could a national network food policy council? What could a national network of food policy councils do to support you? Let's see. Continue having these conversations. Keep the wellness piece going and available. Yeah. Send money, please. Drop your cash apps in the chat. Connect folks together. Peer-to-peer learning. Want to toss and finally do something in person when it's safe to. Most virtual events, regional forums once or twice a year. All right, there are a lot of good ideas coming through.
There's a lot of federal stuff coming through too. All right. Anything in particular stand out to you, Marcus?
I mean, it'd be nice to comb through and see what the network in its current capacity could do right now, and then what could be aspirational.
Like that. I like that. You guys gave us the laundry list, and we're going to come back to you and ask how you want to serve in or how you want to lead in the network and what things you want to take on. So thank you for taking the time to share your thoughts. We also have a survey. So if you have more ideas that are coming up, there is a survey for this event that I'm going to plug right now for everyone to take, not right now, but at the end, and give us your thoughts and tell us what you want to do, how you want to lead in the network as well. Because it takes all of us, and it takes all of us working together, and it takes all of us leading different elements of it to keep it moving forward. Great. So we're going to move into the last part of our closing. And we're going to introduce Brienne Darby, who's the Executive Director of Cultivate KC. And she is going to introduce for us Representative Sharice Davids, and we'll share some remarks from her.
Good afternoon, everyone. It is my pleasure to introduce Representative Sharice Davids from Kansas's 3rd Congressional District, which does include the KC metro area on the Kansas side of the state line. Representative Davids was born in Leavenworth, Kansas. She was raised by a single mother who completed a 20-year career in the military. Sharice was a first-generation college student, earned her law degree from Cornell Law School, and served as a White House fellow under President Barack Obama. When Sharice was sworn into the 116th Congress, she was one of our first 2 Native American women to serve in Congress. In Congress, Rep. Davids serves as the chair of the Committee on Small Business, the vice chair on the Committee on Transportation and Infrastructure, and is a member of the Joint Economic Committee. She also co-chairs the Congressional LGBT Caucus and the Native American Caucus. She has introduced several bills in the House to support better economic outcomes for Native Americans, veterans, and small business owners. Locally, Sharice is known as a champion of small business and cultural preservation and representation. And now, a few words from the representative herself.
Hi, everyone. I'm Sharice Davids, and I have the honor of representing the 3rd District of Kansas in Congress. Thank you to Brian and to Cultivate KC for inviting me to speak. I'm sorry I couldn't join you live, but I am grateful for the chance to address you as we close out the Power of Food Forum. Food insecurity and access became a prominent issue during the pandemic as stores closed or experienced shortages, and folks had to stay home to help reduce the spread of the coronavirus. We also saw how connected food is to other issues, from health and economic development, climate change, and racial equity. In Congress, we worked quickly to get emergency aid to people who really needed it. That included 3 separate relief packages, and each included urgent help. The most recent package, the American Rescue Plan, gave immediate relief in the form of stimulus payments that put money directly in the pockets of millions of Americans, a middle-class tax cut that expanded the child tax credit, which lifted 3 million children out of poverty in the first month that it was implemented, and targeted relief to schools, businesses, nonprofits, and more. It was designed to put vaccines in arms and money in pockets so we could start to get our economy and our health back on track together. I met with advocates from my district, including Cultivate KC and others, who have shared specifically what the American Rescue Plan has done to alleviate hunger. I think it's important to touch on as you all consider and discuss opportunities for federal engagement on food policy. And we're dealing with a new landscape of food policy after the pandemic. In 2019, food insecurity in America was at its lowest level since it was first measured. Underlying disparities existed. The rate of food insecurity for people of color was nearly double the rate for white non-Hispanic people. But the pandemic reversed gains and exacerbated those disparities. An estimated 45 million Americans were food insecure, including 15 million children. Existing issues of access combined with the supply chain issues deepened insecurity. That's why we worked quickly to get relief through at the federal level. The American Rescue Plan included $12 billion overall in key investments for food assistance programs. It extended the 15% SNAP benefit increase that we had put into place in the previous relief bills, and surged resources to states to help them cover administrative costs due to increased demand. It allowed states to continue the PEBT program through the summer, providing grocery benefits to replace meals that children missed while schools were closed. And it modernized the WIC program, supporting innovative service delivery models, allowing participants to get more fruit and vegetables. Even policies not directly focused on food, like the expanded child tax credit, had tremendous impact. After the first monthly child tax credit payment went out in July, the rate of households with children who reported that they did not have enough to eat dropped by 24%. In fact, it dropped to the lowest rate since the beginning of the pandemic. And now my Democratic colleagues in the House are looking to make that tax cut permanent. These were all emergency measures, but I think it also showed us how critical some of these federal programs are when it comes to combating hunger. It demonstrated that food policy should be part of any integrated disaster response. I am sure you've had many chances over this forum to discuss the successes and challenges of local and regional food systems through this crisis. I'm grateful for the work of advocates to rally communities and find solutions throughout a difficult year, and as we continue to grapple with the pandemic and its effects. I urge you to reach out to your representatives and offer your expertise, because as we seek to move forward from this economic crisis and the public health crisis that caused it, we must take these lessons to heart. That includes redoubling our efforts to promote equity, particularly in food policy, and building our systems to address the growing threat of climate change. And the work that you're doing on the ground in your communities, and even in the ground in the case of most of you, it is really important to keep up those efforts. I always say the most important part of my job is listening to my community. Kansas has the 4th highest number of food policy councils, and the Greater KC Food Policy Coalition has been the catalyst for some really impressive and impactful changes over these years. Your perspective helps me understand the priorities and problems facing our food systems, so that we can continue to make policy that meets the moment, like we did with the American Rescue Plan. I look forward to working together with you on these important endeavors and appreciate you again for inviting me to speak today. I hope to see you all again soon.
Thank you. And Brianne, thank you so much for helping us to invite Representative Davids to share some remarks.
I think it's still muted.
All right, Marcus, we're at the end.
Someone say the beginning.
The beginning. We're at the beginning.
Let's call it that.
So before we close out, I just wanted to thank a few people that we thanked at the beginning, but also want to thank them again, because 2 years of time and energy is a lot. And so these are the people who served on our design team and helped to bring this idea together, and the people that served on our local host team that so graciously put their time and energy into, whoops, I don't know, sorry. So graciously put their time and energy into inviting us into their city, even though we couldn't be there. And then a special thanks to our CLF staff, Emily Becker and Gretchen Kunkel, for all of their work and support in bringing this together. This was a group effort and involved you, it involved them. And thank you all for being here. Marcus, final words.
Thanks, you all. I mean, the participants that stuck through it, that worked with us through this virtual conversion, still made it awesome, brought the energy, brought the knowledge and the sharing. So I feel very energized. I hope you all do too. This is fantastic. We'll see you all in what, 3 months?
Sure.
All right, everyone, be safe, be well, and look out for the survey. I'm sure more fun announcements.
And thank you, Natasha, for leaving us on a high note.
Oh, definitely. Cash up.